Welcome to the theater. Take a seat, grab some popcorn, and get ready for another horror movie double bill. This is Friday Night Fratricide.
Good evening, one and all. Welcome back to Friday Night Fratricide. You're here in the dark with the Happy Brothers.
Upsetting.
Yeah, it's upsetting for everyone involved.
Very creepy.
I am Fraser.
And I'm Euan.
And we're not actually in the dark. Although it is getting darker.
It is.
Quite rapidly in the evenings. I don't like it.
I saw, on my way to work yesterday morning, an orange leaf on a tree. And it filled me with an indescribable joy.
Joy.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess like Halloween-y
I love autumn.
colours is coming.
It's spooky season's on its way.
I do like spooky season.
Yeah.
I don't like the seasonal depression that comes with it, though.
Beats regular depression.
It's like depression with a little asterisk. It's got a nice little, just a twinge of, you know, like when you get a regular coffee and you put a little bit of syrup in it.
Yeah.
It's like
hazelnut depression.
Pumpkin spice depression.
It is. It's pumpkin spice depression. That's what it is.
Right, enough of this blabbering. We're here today to talk about poetry.
Yep.
Which is a very strange theme that we had. It was one of the ones that was just kind of chucked into the mix, and it happened to pop up this week. So we have done our best with it.
Yeah.
And come up with two films that really are not anything to do with poetry.
Not poetic at all. At least yours actually has a rhyme in it.
That's true.
Your choice, Possum, does actually have like a rhyme.
Yeah.
I was going off of the original My Bloody Valentine, which has a scene with the Valentine's card. The woman answers, and it's like roses are red, violets are blue, one is dead, and you are too, I think it says. And then she gets murdered. And I was like, cool. They're bound to also do that in the remake. And they didn't.
No.
You
tried.
That's why I picked My Bloody Valentine, the remake, for poetry. But there's no poetry in it.
No. But it's fine. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Well, it's our podcast. We can choose what we like.
Yeah, we can.
Cool. So let's get down to business with this double bill. Which do you want to start with?
I don't mind. I watched Possum first.
I also watched Possum first.
Okay,
so
cool.
let's take that as a sign.
Why don't we start with Possum?
Cool. So Possum was my pick this week. It's a 2018 film. It feels like it really could be anywhere from the last 15, 20 years. It's quite ambiguous, but well shot, I guess.
Yeah.
In its sort of tone, it's quite. It's got kind of that modern-esque, elevated horror feel to it, but when you actually get into it, it's pretty cut and dry. It's just like it's a spooky story in it.
Yeah.
It's all about Possum.
It is all about Possum.
Yeah. So it was directed by Matthew Holness, who I think you said was the guy who did Garth Marenghi's
He's Garth
Dark
Marenghi.
Place.
He's the real Garth Marenghi. Yeah.
Right, okay.
He wrote and all of the stuff to do with Garth Marenghi, and also plays Garth Marenghi
Right.
During his various TV shows.
I've only ever seen clips, but I don't vibe with it at all.
No.
Because it's got that very Matt Berry, Richard Ayoade-esque humour that I just despise.
It does have that kind of I would say kind of Mighty Boosh kind of humor.
Right.
It's not incredible. It's quite fun as like a kind of parody of horror. Like it's not like a horror comedy or like a sort of scary movie type spoof.
Yeah.
It's very much parodying like 80s horror TV shows.
It's like sort of Twilight Zone
kind of
parody, isn't it?
Yeah. Which works quite well because it's fairly unique.
Mm-hmm.
It's not amazing. It's quite good.
Yeah.
But it's like it's funny in places. There's like quite a lot of humorous writing in it, but it's not great. He wrote a book recently, which is another Garth Marenghi thing that's a parody of horror books.
Right.
And it's fine.
I guess to write something like that or to create something like that, you probably need to have a pretty good understanding of horror in general.
Yeah.
like initially before you start to parody it. If you are going to make something a good parody, you need to have a good knowledge of it initially. And I think that kind of shines through in the likes of Possum. I've not seen any of his other work. I don't think
there's an awful lot he's done that beyond the whole Garth Marenghi thing.
Yeah. But Possum, I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't quite what I expected. It wasn't as weird as I expected it. And that says something, because it's pretty weird. But from the trailers and stuff, I thought it was going to be this very abstracty, arty bullshit film. Yeah. And it's not really. It has its moments, but overall it's...
Yeah, it has a bit of that in it.
Yeah.
I think.
That wanky, elevated horror feel, as I said.
It's a little wanky
in places. But overall, it's pretty good. And it has a great soundtrack by the BBC Radiophonic Workshop.
It was very cool.
Who we vibe with because
Doctor Who.
Original Doctor Who theme. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they're actually really good. They actually,
it is.
It's a really atmospheric.
It's kind of that
soundtrack,
synthy, very kind of background noisy, dark ambient kind of.
Yeah,
which is fun for horror. Definitely fits this film where basically nothing happens.
yeah, that's true. But yeah, well, let's get into it before I ramble anymore. So our film takes place in a little town in England, just a little town, and Philip, can't remember his second name. I'm sure it tells you his second name, but Philip, played by Sean Harris. I was just quickly googling his name there because I forgot it again. Played by Sean Harris, returns home for initially unknown reasons. We eventually learn that he's kind of a disgraced teacher, performer.
He's like a puppeteer.
Yeah. And he brings home with him this duffel bag containing one of his puppets. And it's sort of gradually revealed to us, but it's just like spider legs coming out of the bag, or we occasionally see spider legs kind of hanging about wherever, and we're kind of gradually introduced to this really, really unsettling puppet. It's got like a human sort of ceramic mask as a face, and then it's got this weird little like shriveled up body, and then these big spider legs. And it's pretty tall as well. It's a pretty big thing. The first sort of 40 minutes or so of the film, we don't get a good look at it. We either see its legs coming out of the bag, or when he first wakes up in the morning, it's kind of appeared in bed with him, and he kind of pushes it off very quickly. You don't quite register what's there. You can't really see it properly. And it gives this really unsettling tone throughout. Like, just the fact that you can't see this creature and there's obviously something wrong with it, just adds this like level of fear.
There's a lot wrong with everything. That thing. It's so gross.
It's really messed up. They're like hairy legs as well.
And like the hairless head.
Yeah.
It's
the smooth ceramic kind of...
Which was apparently Sean Harris's head.
Oh, was it?
Apparently. It was like cast.
Well,
I didn't do an awful lot of research into this film, but that was something that I had heard.
There are scenes later on where it kind of
like
he starts to hallucinate that he's kind of turning into the puppet,
mirroring, and he kind of looks in the mirror and he sees the puppet head looking back, and
it's pretty creepy. It's pretty creepy. So he's returned home. He goes back to his family's house. There's a man named Morris living there, who he's very sort of antagonistic towards, but also quite distant. He feels like a sort of father figure, but he makes a point of saying, "You're not my family." So we don't really know what the relationship is. He's just a man who's living in Philip's house. And he's really strange. He all his food's on the verge of being rotten. The place is absolutely filthy. He's smoking these really weird looking hand rolled cigarettes, and he's just a bit of a grubby figure.
He's really gross.
played by Alan Armstrong, who's pretty fantastic, actually.
He's really good. Like,
always reminds me of Andrew Lloyd Webber. Every time
he does look like Andrew Lloyd Webber. When he came up in this, and I was trying to think of like what it was that I really knew him from, like what role it was that stood out to me. Yeah. He's the priest in Van Helsing.
Yes.
Like really early on, he has this short role where he's just like he's a
sort of quippy.
He's like the Pope or something, or he's like a bishop or a cardinal or whatever. Yeah, that's I think the only thing I really knew him from. He's been in various
Sleepy
other
Hollow
things
as well.
He is. Yeah,
he's one of like the board town,
like the town council people. Yeah, I watched that fairly recently actually. It's quite a good film. Yeah,
Johnny Depp, I don't like.
I know. I don't really like Tim Burton either.
Yeah, he's a bit weird. Right, that's not the point. Possum. So yeah, it's the first sort of half of the film. There's quite a lot of nothing. There's a lot of kind of dream sequences of Philip, getting rid of the duffel bag, seeing the possum puppet creeping around corners and stuff. He goes to the park and sits with the puppet on the swings. There's just a lot of nothing. There's a lot of him kind of just going around town and being a bit weird. He's got this very creepy demeanor. He stands very upright, and he walks very proper and very quick, and he looks people. He has this really creepy look about him.
Yeah,
you don't know what specifically he did to earn his disgraced.
You know what it probably was. It was like he went to do a kid's puppet show, and he got out his only puppet, which is a giant spider with a human head.
So that feels too obvious.
And then all of the children screamed and died. And then he was thrown out and
probably
told to never perform puppetry ever again.
Probably, yeah. But yeah, he's got this very sort of creepy demeanor, and he's cutting about town, and he's trying to get rid of the puppet, and it keeps coming back to him. Which at this point he throws it into the river, and then he kind of has like a panic attack and tries to get it back out of the river. All while this is happening, there's like stories going on in the background. There's stuff on the paper and the radio that a young boy from nearby has gone missing. It's a boy that he saw on the train when he first comes in like the first scene of the film. Mm-hmm. He saw a young guy drawing, and he walks up to him and is like, "Hey kid, what you drawing?"
Yeah, so creepy,
really weird. But that kid's gone missing. So,
and naturally, all of that kid's friends were like, "Hey, I know who kidnapped him."
Yeah, it's like
it was this really creepy guy who was on the train
in his long brown trench coat and creepy duffel bag.
So gross.
Yeah. But so it kind of adds this level of like, is this really happening or not? So I made a note like about this point in the film where I was like, oh, he's got that kid's body in the duffel bag, doesn't he? And he's just imagining it as a puppet. He's trying to get rid of the body. He's killed this kid subconsciously, and he's trying to get rid of the body. Or it's going to be like the head in the duffel bag. And then the film kind of carries on, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's the puppet is real.
The puppet is just a puppet.
And it is just like evil. It is just like possessed or something. Mm-hmm. We never get a proper explanation, but he tries to burn it and it comes back. He throws it in the river. He eventually has this like showdown with it. There's like the old army barracks nearby, and it like chases him through the barracks, and this really creepy sequence. Like the way it moves, it's proper.
It's really gross,
like animatronic almost. But it's like it's like this sort of
the spidery
legs
movement.
The face. It's really really creepy. Mm-hmm. So it chases him, and it turns out that the puppet is just real and evil, and is actually like alive.
Yeah,
which is like so much more terrifying than this guy like losing his mind.
Yeah,
the fact that this puppet is just real.
Well, yeah, it's real as far as we see, but like we're seeing this through Philip's
eyes. Morris helps him burn it.
Yeah, that's
Morris
true.
helps him burn it, and it still comes back after that.
I have also seen, so what I kind of, we can, you know what, we'll finish it before.
Yeah, okay.
We'll finish the plot before I get into my theory that I subscribe to.
That's fine. Okay. So yeah, he's trying to get rid of this puppet. It won't disappear. And all the while, Morris is being a really creepy dude. He's really antagonizing Philip. He's winding him up. He's reminding him of when kids used to go missing when he was younger. One of his classmates, I think, and reminds him how his classmates bullied him and all this stuff. And we kind of lead up to this final scene where Philip goes home and he finally opens the door, the downstairs door that he's refused to open up until this point. He always walks past it. And he opens this door and he goes in, and we're kind of revealed that his parents died in a house fire. And that was the room that they died in. And that's why he refuses to go in. And then while he's in this room, he gets like attacked by Morris in what is like a proper jump scare as well.
Yeah.
See, when he comes out of the shadows,
He just
jumps at Philip. It's,
Yeah.
oh man, I shat myself. He and it's kind of revealed that Morris abused him when he was a kid, and it's a really unsettling scene.
It's very upsetting.
Yeah, it's like proper like triggering levels of realism almost.
Yeah.
Like it's really pretty upsetting. But Philip hears there's a knocking like in the corner of the room, and at this point we're kind of like, is this the puppet? What's going on here? How is this getting 5 minutes from the end of the film? What's going on? And he ends up, he kills Morris. He like snaps his neck against the like floorboards, broken floorboards in the room. And then he goes over to the corner of the room and he opens up this old suitcase, and it's the missing kid from earlier. Oh, it was Morris that was evil and was kidnapping kids. And I was like, oh, okay. Sure.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. How does the puppet fit into all this? And then the last scene is just Philip like caressing the puppet in the garden. It's just him and Possum. And then the film ends, and I was like, oh, so the puppet was just real. They just didn't explain it.
Yeah.
The puppet's just evil.
Yeah. I guess.
So, yeah. That was a fun time, learning that puppet wasn't a figment of his imagination.
Yeah.
It was actually just cutting about and being weird.
I guess so. So, I actually think that the puppet was a figment of his imagination.
Okay.
I think that Morris was also a figment of his imagination.
Okay.
I think the whole thing, like, the puppet specifically is like a metaphor for, like, trauma and grief. Because he's constantly trying to get rid of it, but it keeps coming back to him, and he can't get rid of it, and it's, like, following him around and plaguing him, and he has this fear that it's kind of manifesting in him, like him and the puppet are actually the same thing. Like, he is his trauma.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And that led to him kidnapping the kid, and he's just imagining Morris, taunting him. Morris is like another figment of his imagination who's just harassing him and hates him, and he's like having PTSD stuff about how Morris abused him when he was younger.
I mean, Morris never interacts with any other characters.
Yeah. There aren't really many other characters. There's basically just two characters in this film.
So that would make sense.
That's, at least, like, I kind of definitely got that vibe when watching it. I was sort of like, I definitely felt that the puppet was some kind of metaphor. It was really around the halfway point when he's like, tries to get rid of it, but it keeps coming back.
Yeah.
I was like, it's a metaphor for something, but I don't really know what. Well, and then it gets to the end, and I was like, okay, it's a metaphor for, like, trauma and, like, carrying these, like, traumatic events that happened in his childhood, which, you know, obviously are horrifying. And then just in reading people's reviews and listening to people talk about the film, that's kind of what I feel like it was probably going for.
Well, linking it back to poetry as well, he writes this, like, children's nursery rhyme, or he has been writing or wrote when he was younger. And I can't remember exactly how it goes. I didn't memorize it. But, like, it kind of, it's very closely linked with, like, the trauma as well. You know, it talks about, like, black balloons, and there's a lot of visuals of, like, the like balloons in the corner of the room that turn black with smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So like the parents' fire that killed his parents.
Yeah.
You know, it's all that kind of thing. And yeah, I don't know. It makes sense. It makes sense that it is this substitute for his trauma.
Yeah.
And the way that he manifests it. However, I also kind of like the idea that it is just evil.
It's just a horrible puppet.
It is just a creepy puppet.
It's a creepy little puppet.
I can't. Yeah, like I don't hate that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate that it's just take it at face value.
Yeah,
this is an evil Spider-Man thing.
Fair enough.
That is coming after you.
Yeah,
and won't leave you alone.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's one of those films that's you have to give it a chance. You really have to want to watch it.
Yeah,
because you could easily turn it off in the first half hour.
Mm-hmm.
First 45 minutes. It's not a particularly long film either.
No. I think that's one of the main reasons that I drew a lot of comparisons between this and Skinamarink. Is that I was like, you really got to get into it, and also it's not super long. It could really do with being shorter. Like
you could easily trim a good.
I feel like
10,
Possum could. I would go even further. I think Possum could be a 20-minute long short film. I don't think there's an awful lot in it to carry it to feature length. I think it felt very, very slow. Like, the atmosphere that it builds is really good. I think tonally it's great, and I think there are lots of good scenes in there. There's just also an awful lot of nothing.
There is, but I don't know. I initially thought that. Mm-hmm. Like, as I was watching it, and I was watching like the first half of the film, I was like, this is taking a while to kind of get into it. But then as things started to happen in the latter half, I was like, I wouldn't be as terrified, I wouldn't be as scared watching this if we didn't have this long build up.
No, that's true. If
we didn't kind of ease into this, like, this world, this creepy little village with a weird puppet, like. Yep. So I know what you're saying. It could have been a short film, but I think it does, despite it being kind of a bit of a slog, the first half, I think it pays off in the end.
Yeah.
Personally, I kind of give it a pass for it.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more accessible than Skinamarink.
Oh, yeah, I would say. No, I would agree. Yeah. Like, it is. Like, there is a narrative here.
Yeah.
Whereas Skinamarink, there was barely a narrative at all. Yeah. There is a narrative here. It's just very loose.
It is quite loose.
And
the payoff takes a while.
It is.
As well.
Also, it's based on a short story as well.
Yeah.
Also written by Matthew Holness. And it's apparently even less narrative. It's like, there's basically like not really much of a plot. I've not read it, but from what I've heard, it's like there's not really much of a plot. It's just kind of atmospheric and like, ooh, scary puppet, and then like childhood trauma, and it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
great.
I think you pretty well summarized,
which is pretty much what the film is. But there's like. I feel bad saying like this could do with being 20 minutes, because obviously you are just cutting out all of the nuance and you're cutting out all of this build up and atmosphere, and it would suffer for that. But also, the whole time I was like, I can't, like, this is just, it's so long. It's not pleasant to watch, because like the two characters of Philip and Morris are both really creepy.
They're like inherently unlikable characters.
Yeah, which makes it difficult to watch because you're not really following anybody. You're kind of just like being taken along for the ride as you're watching all this horrible stuff happen, and then it's dealing with very heavy stuff. It's like really very effectively creepy design of the puppet makes it very scary. So it's like, it's hard to watch, and there's not really anything that like made me enjoy the film. I mean, that's probably a good sign. Like, if you like a film that's just scary and upsetting, this is a very good choice for you. I don't really like films like that.
Well, there's a question. Like, did you find it scary? Did you think it was scary?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. Because I was kind of concerned. When I watched the trailers and stuff for it, I thought it was going to be one of those like sort of Skinamarink-esque, where it was very weird visuals, kind of ominous dark corridors with a creepy puppet.
Yeah.
And it was going to be just scary because it's like creepy visuals.
Yeah.
And then after watching it, I was like, oh, this is actually like unsettling. And watching the puppet particularly, it's a really, really effective practical design for a monster. It's not even I guess monster.
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
real.
Whatever the creature
I'm taking
is,
it as it's real.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a lot of scenes with it moving around and lurking behind the door frame and stuff. That
spider legs coming around the door.
Yeah, they're not like. It works within the context of the film, and it builds up a lot of this anxiety inside you watching it. But yeah, cool. Okay, so what did you think overall then?
I gave it a 2. I gave it 2 stars out of 5.
Okay.
Because I like credit where credit's due. It's got good acting. It's very well shot. Creature design's great. Music's pretty great. But like, it's also an incredibly unpleasant film.
Yeah.
I would not watch it again. I would not particularly recommend it to anybody. Like, it's practically very well done, but there's not much in it that makes it good to watch.
Okay. Yeah, nah, I disagree.
Okay.
If I'm being honest.
That's fine.
That's
why there's 2 of us.
Yes, true, yeah. Like a bit of back and forth. Like, I agree with you. Technically, it looks very good. It sounds very good. Acting's pretty great.
Yeah.
With the 2 leads. Everyone else in it's just kind of nobody. They're
barely named characters.
Yeah, they're in it for all of 30 seconds at a time. It's really nothing. And yeah, the actual practical puppet as well, Possum, is really, really creepy. Yeah. But beyond that, I quite enjoyed it, actually. I was surprised, and good. I didn't think I would. Like I said, like the first half of the film, it took a while to get into. I was kind of like, this is going to go one of 2 ways. It's either going to build up and actually start being scary, or it's just going to fall off. And I think it does the former.
Yeah.
I think it does build up. It's got a few creepy scenes. The scene where he's having like the nightmare, lying in bed, and Possum like he's like sleep paralysis, and Possum's like crawling out of the duffel bag. Like, that's really horrifying. Yep. Like, it's really, really creepy.
The bit where he wakes up in the morning and the Possum's
like
face to face with him.
There's something really just I don't know.
Yeah,
skeevy. Gives you the skeeves.
There was a bit that was like a weird little thing that's like the scene he's asleep and there's you can see like a bug on his face.
Yeah,
that was gross and I hated that. It was like very upsetting for like just like no.
Like a wee fly or
it's just a little bug, but it's like it's so gross.
Okay.
It really that like something about that really freaked me out.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah. The puppet was great. And the whole trauma and Morris being a creepy guy was uncomfortable to watch, but I don't think it necessarily detracts from the film in being uncomfortable. It is a horror film, and it's not like we're introduced to like the children getting abducted late in the film. Like that is right from the start, more or less.
Yeah.
So that kind of mystery is lingering in the background, and it kind of does. I think it does tie together quite nicely. And then you've also got the aspect of like, yeah, you've got your own interpretations of it.
Yeah.
Or you can take it at face value, and it's still, in my opinion, as enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
So in saying that, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Cool.
I marked it up a little bit before we started, just as I was thinking over it again. I marked it as a 3 when I finished it. And I marked it up a bit just as I was thinking over it, because it is pretty good.
Yeah.
I would recommend it.
Cool.
It is on the slower side, so you need to be into those kind of films. It's not like a jump scare fest. There's no gore really at all.
There's like, I was thinking there's a scene when he's like there's like blood, but it's like black.
There's like black rain.
There's kind of like black rain
falls on him.
Yeah.
And yeah, other than dealing with some pretty heavy topics,
yeah,
it's really just a slow burn.
Yeah,
to get through.
Definite content warning on that one.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Like it builds up, and oh boy, is it uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it. I didn't love it.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was good. I thought it was pretty good. I'll definitely watch it again in 5-10 years.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Cool. That is Possum.
Yep.
We had a bit of poetry in that.
Mm-hmm.
Had some children nursery rhymes. And now we're moving on to My Bloody Valentine, which has absolutely no poetry in it whatsoever.
No poetry whatsoever.
Why don't you take it away with My Bloody Valentine?
So, My Bloody Valentine, 2009, a remake of the Canadian slasher film from 1981. I had seen the original. You've not seen the original one?
I've not seen the original, I don't think.
I had seen the original before. The original's really good. As I said, that's why I thought this would go with poetry. There's actually not any poetry in it, but still, Valentine's Day poetry, My Bloody Valentine, it sort of works.
I mean, even then,
it's a bit tangential. But
Valentine's Day in the film,
it barely
makes sense.
There's in the original, the plot is basically like that. They have 2 years in a row there are deaths on Valentine's Day.
Right.
So they basically are like, we're banning Valentine's Day. Like the town is actually called Valentine's Bluff.
Okay.
So the whole they have a big thing around being like the Valentine's town.
Yeah.
But then they ban celebrating Valentine's Day until however many years pass, and they're like, maybe we should do it, I guess, like the first Valentine's celebration in a while. And then as they're building up to it, people start turning up dead. And it then is this speculation that it's the person who did the murders in the first place, and we don't actually know, and it's
okay.
It's good. Standard slashery stuff. It's nothing particularly groundbreaking, but it is actually a very good, like amongst a bunch of holiday slashers and amongst this boom of slashers in the early 80s, it's one of the best ones, I would say. Definitely worth watching. Maybe we'll do the original for a Valentine's Day special this year.
That.
Maybe.
Yeah,
that'd be fun. Anyway, so this was the remake from 2009 because this was during the era when all classic horror movies were getting remade. We had Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street around this time.
Yep.
The Fog, even like Last House on the Left was getting remade.
Right, there was Spit on Your Grave.
I Spit on Your Grave. There was
all these films.
All sorts getting remade. Yeah, so the plot centers around this small town. It's a mining community. We open with a kind of newspaper thing, like it's like a newsreel.
Open with a montage.
With a montage of like newspapers.
What good film hasn't started with a montage?
We love
explaining the backstory.
We love a montage. So yeah, newspaper articles all about there was like a mine collapse. The guy that got blamed for it was this guy called Tom Hanniger, who was the son of the owner of the mine, who was working in the mine. He was blamed because he made a mistake and it caused a gas leak, which caused this collapse. And it was something like 10 miners were trapped underground. Only one of them made it out alive, and it was revealed that this one miner, Harry Warden, had murdered all of the other miners that he was trapped with so that he could have enough air to survive. Then it skips ahead to the following year, presumably on Valentine's Day at this point, I guess, because it would have to be, right?
I guess, yeah.
On Valentine's Day. Harry Warden, who has been in a coma for the past year, having been rescued, he's like been under police watch and everything, suddenly wakes up and goes on a killing spree, kills God knows how many people.
A lot. Like an extensive amount of people.
The entire, like all of the staff in the hospital, all of the patients that are on his way through the hospital, like lots and lots of people. Then he makes his way down to the mine where a bunch of young people are hanging around, having a party the mine.
Partying, dude, yeah.
They're partying in the mine, as they do, including Tom, as you mentioned, played by Jensen Ackles from Supernatural. Jensen, I like him.
Kells from
Jensen.
Supernatural.
Supernatural. Yeah. And also a few other characters. So we've got Sarah, who it was Tom's girlfriend at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Axel, who is his
nemesis,
acquaintance, but like who audibly hates him.
Yeah,
he's like, I don't know why he's here. He's an idiot, and he caused the death of a bunch of people. And it's like loads of people had family members who were working in the mine who died because of the accident, and they blame Tom, and it's a whole thing. So Axel hates him, and there's also Axel's girlfriend, whose name I have forgotten. I want to say Irene or something.
Oh yeah, Irene. Maybe that sounds right.
She definitely has like an old woman sounding name, which I thought was kind of funny. So it's like the four of them plus a bunch of other people are like, we're going to go and party in this mine, and they go down into the mine, and then Harry Warden's there, and he kills a bunch more of them.
Yep.
Including there's a bit of a jump scare, which I have to admit I actually quite liked, because like like a cop-out jump scare is very common in films like these, or just doing like a bunch of cheap jump scares, or doing like a cop-out jump scare, but doing a cop-out jump scare to like spook the audience and then get them back into their comfort zone and then immediately follow up with a real jump scare, I think is actually pretty effective. And they do that.
Which bit was that?
One of the guys who's at the party, who's called Jason, because the first two guys to get killed are called Jason and Michael, as a reference to Halloween and Friday the 13th, which is funny. The guy Jason, he like the mine's all quiet, and Sarah's walking through, and he's like, oh, there's no one here. Guys, where are you? And he like jumps out, and he's like, haha, I got you. You got scared. And then a pickaxe comes out and stabs through the back of his head, and his eye comes out.
Oh, you love the 3D
effect, because this film came out in 3D.
Yeah.
This was the first R-rated movie to use the Real D 3D technology.
Okay.
You know, the glasses that you got that were like clear lenses, like rather than the blue and red ones, which I thought was fun. And then, Harry Warden kills a bunch more people, except basically the four main characters. They survive. He then gets shot by the town sheriff, played by Tom Atkins.
Tom Atkins.
We love Tom Atkins from The Fog.
Yeah.
He's great. And he's like, he is wounded, and then he kind of staggers off into the mine. And everyone's like, oh, he died in the mine, but we never found his body. And then it skips ahead 10 years, and this is where the rest of the film takes place. 10 years later, Tom's been away for a while, but he's suddenly come back into town.
He's going to sell the mine.
Because his dad died, so he's inherited the mine, and he's decided he's going to sell it. Everyone hates that he's going to sell it, because this is like...
It's the lifeblood
of the town. But it's also like, well, he's not burning the mine down. He's just selling it. Like, people are probably still going to keep their jobs, most likely. I don't know business, but like, if you buy a mine, you don't just like sack all of the employees. Like, surely he would buy the mine and then keep...
I mean, they might bring their own employees in if it's like a big company.
I guess.
I don't know how it works.
I don't know.
It's not his problem.
No, it's not. This is the whole thing. He's just like, I don't care. Like, this isn't my business. I've not been here for 10 years. I just want to get my money and leave. But then people start getting murdered.
Yep.
Pretty much. Is how it goes. And then it's like... Tom is insisting that it's Harry Warden. Everyone else is like, it can't be Harry Warden because Harry Warden's dead. Mm-hmm. Axel is back. Now he's the sheriff, and he's married to Sarah, who is Tom's girlfriend. So the two of them hate each other even more.
And he's also having an affair with
Megan. He's having an affair with Megan, who works for Sarah. He's the worst. Like, Axel is the worst.
Such a jackass.
The whole way through, I was just like, man, ACAB, right? Like, fuck this guy.
Well, no, hold on. We got Eddie Gathecki.
We did. He's good. I like him
as the deputy.
He's the deputy.
I do like. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right.
I think so.
Edie?
I was thinking Edie, but I'm not.
Who was in House?
He was in House.
He played Cole. I think was his name.
In House.
In House.
I don't remember.
I'm
rewatching House now, actually,
but
it's been a while since I've watched it.
And
He was in X-Men.
X-Men. Darwin. He plays
in
Darwin
X-Men
in
First Class.
X-Men First Class. And he's been in loads of stuff.
Quite a short-lived role, but he's been in quite.
He's
a few
great.
things.
I really like him.
He's one of those hey, it's that guy actors, because he's been in quite a lot of kind of smaller parts.
But he's also a really good actor. He stands out even in this tiny role as a deputy. He kind of stands out as being one of the better actors in the film. Mm-hmm. So yeah, not all cops. Just
Axel.
Just Axel.
Just Axel. Okay. Yeah, so they do this. Axel's cheating on his wife. I started to notice at this point that this film has, and I couldn't really think of a better way to describe it, so hopefully you'll understand what I mean when I say this. It has soap opera lighting. The film, I don't know if it's to do with the sets, or if it's to do with the way that the film's shot, or it's the makeup, or the lighting, or what. But there's something about it that was just this film looks like a soap opera. It looks like TV. It does not look like a movie. Like
TV. Yeah. I'll give you that. I don't know if it was soap opera TV.
Yeah.
But it definitely had, it was the way the cameras and the frame rate in some of the scenes as well.
Yeah.
It definitely, it made it look like...
Which I thought was kind of
TV.
Kind of funny. And also at this point I was looking up some of the actors, and basically all of the actors, including Jensen Ackles, were in Days of Our Lives.
Really?
Before they were in this. But I don't know if they appeared together, because obviously that show ran for a really long time.
It's still going.
It's got 400,000 episodes or something. But it has a bunch of the actors that were in this were in Days of Our Lives in the late 90s, which is really funny. And then also the plot lines of the sheriff's cheating on his wife and the mistress, and she's pregnant, and now the ex-boyfriend's back in town. I was like, this is a soap opera. This is a soap opera with murder.
Yeah.
It's like Dallas. They're running a mine and everything. Well, Dallas was oil, wasn't it?
But what are you talking about? I don't know.
Dallas or Dynasty or whatever.
I've never watched Dallas.
Okay. Anyway,
what's it? What somebody shot somebody who shot
JR? Who shot JR? That was Dallas.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's my knowledge of Dallas.
That's your knowledge of Dallas. So yeah, we're getting the whole soap opera plot line. There's a scene at the beginning when he's on TV, and the reporter's like, hey, do you think the people are going to start getting murdered again because it's Valentine's Day and that always happens in this town? And he's like, oh, I wish you would just fuck off, you stupid reporter, I hate you. Which is, I guess, funny. And he's just like, yeah, I did that. And everyone's like, okay, good job, you're our sheriff. You should get fired for doing that. So we cut then. He's in town. He comes back. We find out that he's there because he's selling the mine. He has a meeting with, I want to say Bill. I can't remember.
Bob.
The guy who's the closest thing he has to family. He's the guy that runs the mine. He's the manager. So he was best friends with his dad.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
It was him, Thingy's dad, and then some other guy, and there was 3 of them.
Yeah.
I think they say at the start.
I don't really remember.
It's not important.
It's not important. But he's don't sell the mine. And Jensen Ackles is I'm going to sell the mine. And he's like, okay, whatever. And then he goes off and he stays in a motel. In the next room of the motel is Irene.
Yep.
I'm convinced that her name isn't Irene, but I'm going to call her that.
I'll Google it for you.
While
you're talking.
So Axel's ex-girlfriend, she's hooking up with some trucker who is married. They have a proper sex scene where she is incredibly naked.
Yep.
Then it's revealed that he was filming her without her consent.
Yep.
He tries to leave, and she runs after him outside.
Fully naked.
I'll get to that. There's actually an interesting bit of trivia about that.
Oh, cool. It is Irene, by the way.
Irene, cool. So she runs out after him. She's got a gun. She's like, I'm going to kill you if you don't give me that tape. And then he's like, nah, I don't, the gun's not even loaded, and I don't like you anyway. You're stupid. And then opens the truck door, and there's the guy in the mining outfit, which is what Harry Warden was wearing.
Yep.
And he sticks a pickaxe in him, and he gets him good, and then chases after Irene, and then kills the motel owner as well.
Yep.
And murder.
Eventually kills Irene as well.
Eventually kills Irene as well, yeah. So Yeah, interesting thing about Irene. So the actress that played Irene, Betsy Rue, I remember the actress's name, I just don't remember the character's name, has been interviewed about this a lot because it's like it's a very over-sexualized scene. There's like explicit sex, and then there is like full frontal nudity for a good amount of time.
Yep.
And she has been asked quite a lot of questions about it. And I think her attitude towards it was kind of interesting because she's very much like, yeah, I was naked. And like part of the reason that I like the fact that I was naked is because it encouraged me to act better. Because if you're naked, you don't have to be a good actor, but that's going to encourage you to want to be better. Or something. I can't remember exactly what she said. It's basically like everyone's going to remember you for being naked.
Yeah, I kind of get what she's saying.
It encourages you to like want to do a good job of acting.
Yeah.
And I think she kind of does. She's
not bad.
Not bad. Just there. Like, which is saying something for a lot of people in this film. She's not bad.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
And also there was a whole thing that like when she runs out, she was supposed to like grab a sheet and carry it with her. And they did a bunch of takes where she's like trying to run with this sheet wrapped around her and she can't do it. And she was like, you know what, fuck it. Like at this point, the character's not going to be thinking about covering herself up. Yeah, she's going to be thinking about getting the tape back. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, I don't know, that kind of attention to detail showed that it wasn't just about like nudity. It was kind of a bit of realism in the character, or at least it wasn't exploitation of the actress at the very least, I guess. I don't know. I thought that was sort of interesting, like her attitude towards it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was also number 13 on some internet website's list of top 15 best topless scenes in horror movies.
I mean, it's not bad.
Which is fun.
What was number one? You check what number one was?
Oh, I did have a look through it, but now I can't remember.
I'll do a wee Google, see if I can find it. I don't know if I really want to Google that.
I can't remember. I was reading through the IMDb page like with this trivia, and that came up while I was at work.
All right,
and I was like, oh, I want to see what the other one is. And then I started to Google it, and then I was like, oh, I shouldn't Google that at work.
No, you shouldn't.
But it was like one of them was like the woman from The Shining. The
old lady.
Well, like no, the young
old
lady,
creepy lady,
the young lady before she turns into the old lady.
No.
Is it the old lady?
I don't know, but then
it's
she
on
gets
the list.
old.
She gets old.
Creepy.
She gets old and gross and melts.
Yeah, okay, I think I found the list. We can go over the list at the end.
We can go over the list at the end.
Yeah,
That'll be
fine.
Yeah, so that happens.
The miner has returned.
Yeah.
Harry Warden is getting his revenge.
Harry Warden's getting his revenge. Okay. This is kind of like what we're figuring out, I guess, is that it seems like it's involved with the fact that Irene gets murdered is kind of implying that it's involved with what happened 10 years. Excuse me, what happened 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Axel at this point is then investigating the murder, and he's all like, oh, this is my ex-girlfriend and someone that I've known my entire life. I'm really sad about it. His wife comes home. Sarah comes home, and he's like watching the footage from the camera. So he's like watching like a sex tape of his ex-girlfriend. Yep. And he's just sitting really intently staring at the screen. And then his wife comes in and is like, hey, what are you doing? And he just immediately turns around and is like, Tom Hanniger's back in town. I bet you saw him, huh? You stupid bitch. I hate you. And I made a note. I'm like, you're awful jealous for a man who got another woman pregnant.
Yeah. That scene as well, like, it was like his study or something. Did you notice they had like
there's like a
waterproof curtains?
Yeah, there's like a Teflon, or not Teflon. What do you call it? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's like translucent plastic sheet
like
around it. Yeah,
like American Psycho style.
Yeah,
like,
it was. It was.
I noticed that. I was like, are they like in a garage or something?
Like, what is this?
Like, no, it's his office in like the upper floor of the house.
It's just like his house.
Yeah, that was so weird. There was something really like it never comes up again.
Never comes up.
It's not a plot point.
Never comes up again.
But it was something really like unsettling about that.
Yeah. They then get into this argument because he's jealous of Tom. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, all right, I have to get back to work. And then he just like hits play on the video, and it's playing at like 2x speed, so it looks really stupid. But he just goes back to really intently watching this woman really having sex.
Yeah.
It's strange. we get some stuff here about Tom and the mine, and like the people in the town are really upset that he's selling the mine and blah 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 blah. So he goes down into the mine so that he can talk to Jim or Bill or Steve or whatever the guy's name is, the guy that runs the mine that he was talking to earlier. We find out later it's because he's going to tell him that he's decided not to sell the mine, but he's like, I'm going to go and find him so we can go down. They travel down into the mine and they encounter Harry Warden.
Yep.
He beats Tom about and he chucks him into like a cage and he bashes the lock shut so that he can't get out. And then he kills one of the other miners there and then vanishes. And Tom is stuck, trapped in this cage. And everyone then shows up and is like, this guy's dead. What happened? And when Tom says, Harry Warden did it, everyone thinks he's insane.
Yeah.
Because Harry Warden's been dead for 10 years. Woo! Supposedly.
But then we find out he actually has been.
He actually has been dead. And it's this whole thing that it's like the a bunch of people in the town, including Tom Atkins and Bill / Steve / Jim, whatever his name is.
I should probably look up his name.
They all like ganged up and tracked down Harry Warden in the mine and killed him.
Yeah.
They like extrajudicially killed him to make sure that there wasn't a chance of him coming back and committing any more murders, and they hide his body out in the woods. But then they go out into the woods to try and find the body, and there's nothing there. So it's this whole thing. And then we get into it later on. That basically this kicks off the final act of the film, where everyone's kind of running around, and then Harry Warden just starts showing up everywhere
Just
and killing people. Off. He just he kills
Ben. His name is
Ben. He kills Ben. He kills Tom Atkins. Quite a gnarly kill on Tom Atkins. He like sticks the pickaxe up under his chin,
him, like, right
so it's like the bit sticking out his mouth
and the jaw,
and then he like yanks it and it breaks the jaw, and then you get the 3D effect of these like bits of jaw flying towards the audience. I thought that was pretty cool.
One thing that I did really like about this film is the kills are pretty brutal.
The kills are good. They're
like a majority of them are pretty decent.
Yeah, there was one really early on that I really liked with the shovel,
the spade. Yeah,
it's like through her mouth, like through the woman's mouth. And then, like, the rest of the body, like, falls, but the top of the head still sitting on the... And it, like, slowly slides down. I really liked that one.
Yeah, it was brutal.
I liked that one. And then we get another kill right around now, where I specifically was like, oh, they're actually doing the kill, because it's one of the really famous bits from the first film. The woman that gets the poetry, she gets the card that's like, one is dead and so are you. She runs the laundromat. Mm-hmm. And when they find her body, it's because she's like in the dryer. She's like been cooked in the dryer. They like open it up and the body falls out, and they do the same thing here. It's like Axel and Sarah's maid or housekeeper. It gets killed and
she gets
shoved in the dryer. Various other characters get killed. Megan gets killed in the shop. There's a scene when Sarah and Megan are closing up the shop that Sarah runs where they work together, and then the miner breaks in and gets Megan as she's trying to escape.
Yeah.
Sarah manages to escape, meets up with Tom, so then her and Tom, and also separately Axel, are going out towards the mine because they're like, we're going to figure this out once and for all, I guess.
Yeah, or well, Tom's like, I need to show you something, Sarah. It's super important.
Yeah.
And then Axel's like, no, don't go with Tom. He's got nothing to show you. You should come with me instead. So like when you're watching it, you're like, what's going on?
You're not really supposed to trust. Like you don't know who to trust. And then he's like, Tom's been in a mental institution for 7 years. Yeah. And it's like, all right, cool. Okay. I guess I'm supposed to believe. I don't know if you're supposed to believe him or not. It turns out to be true.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know if I'm supposed to believe him or not. The three of them then arrive. They have this whole standoff where it's like, it's really obvious that Sarah doesn't trust either of them. She's got the gun pointed at both of them and she can't figure it out. Axel does a very interesting thing where he's just like, yeah, just shoot both of us. Like, I guess he shows that he's not a complete arsehole, because he's like, if you just kill me, then Tom's going to kill you.
Yeah.
So if you kill both of us, at least then you're going to be safe.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of play this little like redemption thing for him.
Yeah.
When really he's beyond redemption.
He is beyond redemption. He's a horrible person.
Yeah.
He gets proof. He gets given proof that Tom is innocent, which turns out to not be entirely accurate. But he gets given proof, like the miners vouch for him and say, like, no, when this murder in the mine happened, Tom was locked in the cage. There's no way he could have done it. But even though he knows that, Axel fully starts like beating him in the interrogation room. He's really not a good person at all, because he's just upset that like his wife still kind of fancies her ex-boyfriend.
It's nuts.
Yeah. But at this point we get the confirmation. We get like a little bit of a montage showing what's actually going on. Tom has just sort of lost it. He's lost his mind. He is the one that's going and doing all of the murdering. But he's still convinced that it's actually Harry Warden. He's just kind of like having whatever. He's not consciously lying. He's just insane.
Yeah.
I guess. Then he starts going after the two of them. He starts smashing the bulbs in the mine. And I quite liked it.
I like this scene as well.
He starts smashing the bulbs, but every time when he like smashes them, there's like a flash of light and then it goes out. And when there's the flash of light, you see the miner outfit
silhouette
over Tom.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of neat. I like that.
It made me think of the bit in Sunshine when it's like the flashes with the flashlight.
The bit that you hated.
I hated it then because I thought that it was like too much. I actually had to rewind it this time when it happened the first couple of times because I saw
very subtle.
It's dark, so there's a lot more subtlety to it. Whereas in Sunshine, I hated it because I thought it was like way too much. This time, I thought it was done a lot better.
Okay.
And I've probably really upset you by saying that. I think this film
a little bit, but
Sunshine.
No, it's just fine. It's fine. It's all good.
Yeah, we get this. So then the two of them, what is it they do? They cave him in. They shoot there's like tanks. There's like propane
tanks of gas, and they shoot it through.
It goes through him.
Goes through Tom's stomach.
And hits the tanks,
gas, and then he explodes.
And Axel and Sarah manage to escape. Then we get this POV shot of like more miners going in to see if they can find any survivors. They find Tom half buried in rubble, and they're like, "Oh my god, Tom, are you okay?" And then there's like pickaxe swings up and goes through another sort of 3D jump scare, goes through the glass of the mask.
Yeah. Kills the rescuer. Then Sarah and Axel are like at the very end, they're like, "Oh, thank God that's all over." And then you see one of these like paramedics with the gas mask comes out and he takes the mask off and it's Tom and he's alive and he kind of glances into the camera and then he walks away and then that's the end of the film. And it's got that very the movie If It Was Done in 2007 meme, and it ends with like Linkin Park.
Oh, right.
It's got that kind of vibe.
It does.
At the ending, it's like he looks into the camera and walks off, and then this punchy rock music starts to play over the credits.
You remember when we covered The Fog, and I said that the ending of The Fog, I was convinced the end credit music was going to be All the Things She Said by Tattoo. Yeah. I think that would also have worked here. I think you could do All the Things She Said by Tattoo as the end credit music.
Yeah.
Would they have been a thing? My Bloody Valentine, the band? Would they have been a thing in 2009?
Oh, God, yeah. That was like their
Was that pre-2009?
No, that was like their prime. Yeah, like that. It was pre-2009.
Like, yeah. That was your kind of music at that age. That was, I think I was...
From in Dublin, 1983.
Oh, My Bloody Valentine.
Apparently.
Well. Is it the same My Bloody Valentine that was really popular in like 2010 with all the Seeden kids?
Yeah, I guess.
Well, all right.
Are you thinking of Bullet for My Valentine?
I might be thinking of Bullet for My Valentine.
Bullet for My Valentine are a different band.
That's who I was thinking of.
But they were also around in 2009. Yes, okay. That's what I listened to when I was 13.
Okay, yeah. Bullet for My Valentine probably should have had a track in this. They probably couldn't afford it, to be honest.
Could have, yeah. No, they're not an expensive band. They could have afforded
fair
it.
Enough. Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. That was the end of the film.
Yep.
Do you want to tell me what you thought?
Sure was. That was a film.
That was a film
that I had to watch because you picked it.
You mean you got to watch because I picked it?
So I watched this when I was in my supernatural phase.
Yeah.
About 8 years ago, almost 10 years ago, when I started to get really into Supernatural. I was going on Tumblr and looking at all the cool GIFs and being one of those people.
Yep.
And I started to watch all the things that Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki were in.
That's why I watched Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, but Gilmore Girls is good. That's worth the time spent watching it. Whereas this was a piece of shit that made no sense.
Yeah.
That had some entertaining kills.
Yeah.
I give it that. Mm-hmm. But was mostly just a convoluted mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had seen it before, so I knew the reveal. I knew the big twist. So watching it again, I was kind of like, I was following along. I was trying to catch it out. I was trying to be like,
trying to find the.
No, this can't be right.
What's the film? The French one.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh God. It's got a pic. The cover is the girl with the short hair. She's got like a buzzsaw.
Lolita?
No. Lolita. You fucking idiot.
That would be a more entertaining film if she had a buzzsaw.
Yeah. No, anyway, there's this French slasher film from like 2000. It must have been around about the same time.
La Femme Nikita?
No. And it had it's similar plot where it's like kind of a slasher and you don't really know who the killer is, and then surprise, it turns out the killer is actually the main character. But there's a bit halfway through where the main character and like her friend are in a car and the killer is chasing them down in another car.
Right.
Like partway through, it is explicit that they are not the same character, and then at the end they reveal that they are the same character, and it does not make any sense.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I feel about the bit where he gets locked in the cage.
Yeah.
Because they do show it in the flashback.
They explain
to be fair,
he kind of bends it with the pitch.
But it makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense.
If he could so easily have bent it from inside, it would not have been a good enough cover that the other miners and the police would have believed it.
Ugh, just irritated me. And yeah, I don't know. It kind of, I don't know. Like watching it, you're kind of rooting for Tom almost, because Axel is this big bad cop who's cheating on his wife, and he's just generally a horrible human being. And Tom shows up back to town, and he actually treats Sarah how she deserves to be treated, and you know, they're going to run away together, except, oh, nope, he's actually been insane for the last 7 years and is suffering from some weird multiple personality, schizophrenia style bullshit.
Yeah.
And is killing people.
Yep.
And I was just like, well, like, why?
Yeah.
Am I supposed to, like, Axel and Sarah get back together at the end of the film. And he's like, I love you. Cheated on you. Got another girl pregnant, but I still love you.
It's fine. She's dead.
Exactly.
No harm,
they
no
kill
foul,
her off,
right?
and now it's like I don't know. I didn't know who to root for. I didn't have any. There was no moral center in this film.
Absolutely not.
It was just a slasher for the sake of being a slasher.
Yeah,
and that's kind of like that. I gave it 1 out of 5. Right,
1 out of 5,
and that full 1 is for the kills themselves.
Yeah,
because the kills are decent. But like the plot is just non-existent.
Yeah.
Or totally convoluted.
Yeah.
There's no in between. Like there's scenes where it makes no sense, and there's scenes where nothing happens, and it's just a mix of those two.
Yeah.
Making up this weird mishmash of a mess.
Yeah. I've googled it because I was trying to remember it. High Tension is the film I was thinking
High
of.
Tension,
also known as Switchblade Romance, apparently.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I think the only reason I know of it is because it has this very infamous plot hole that's just like terrible.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, I agree that this film is incredibly stupid. I had a really good time watching it though.
Really?
I think pretty early on, I had a realization about the film. It's like right at the beginning when we're in the first scene in the mine, Harry Warden's killing a bunch of these guys, and he like scares one of them, and he turns to run away, and he immediately whangs his head on like a plank across the length of this tunnel.
Yep.
And I saw that, and something just clicked in my brain, and I was like, this isn't just a slasher movie. This is a parody of slasher movies. This is taking the piss intentionally. And I'm going to watch it as if it's probably not. Like, nowhere in any of the advertising, the marketing materials, nowhere on Wikipedia, none of that is it suggested that this is anything less than a straight-laced horror film.
Yeah.
But like, if you watch it pretending that this is a parody, it's so much better.
My note from that scene was Scooby-Doo ass fall.
Yeah. Woo! Yeah.
Yeah, that guy deserved to die.
He did deserve it. They all deserve to die. They're idiots. Who goes on a party in a mine? It's
exactly.
A terrible idea.
The one that collapsed.
The same mine that collapsed. Yeah, terrible idea. There was stuff about it I liked. Jensen Ackles, bless his heart, he's not a very good actor, but he's hot. He's good looking. I started watching it and I did have that thought, like the evil part of my brain spoke up and was like, hey, Jensen Ackles is pretty hot. You should watch Supernatural again. And I had to like actively quiet that part of my brain because I'm like, no, I don't think I should watch Supernatural again, actually.
I agree. I gave up on Supernatural.
Yeah.
When Kim Manners died.
Which one's Kim Manners?
Kim Manners was the producer who also worked on X-Files.
Oh, right.
Who died in like season 3 or 4 of Supernatural.
Yeah, the point where it becomes shit.
Basically, yes. Like the first 3 seasons of Supernatural, they're proper like Monster of the Week, X-Files-esque.
Yeah.
Kim Manners definitely has that influence on it, and I really enjoyed it. And then it just starts getting weird and silly and
yeah. So anyway, I really enjoyed the film because I enjoyed, like, the kills were really good. I thought it was, although not intentionally, I thought it was very funny. I really liked just like some of the cuts and some of the ways the characters acted. I genuinely just thought were hilarious. And like, I just had a good time watching it. What can I say? I didn't give it a very high ranking. I gave it 2.5.
I mean, that's higher than you gave Possum.
It's higher than I gave Possum. I didn't have a good time watching Possum. Possum is very clearly a much better film.
Yeah.
But it's also a lot less pleasant to watch. If you like slasher movies and you are in the mood to watch a dumb slasher movie, My Bloody Valentine is probably shot to the top of my list of films like that I would recommend. It's right up there along with like Halloween Resurrection and Freddy vs. Jason, as these, like, they're so ridiculous. They're not good, but they're just really fun watches because they're shit. I
mean,
like, how you said, I don't know if this was while we were recording or if it was after we were recording. You said that you thought this was worse than Rob Zombie's Halloween. I'm interested to see if your opinion has changed now that you've rewatched it.
No, I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with that.
In my memory, it was as bad.
Yeah.
But no,
it's not.
Actually, having rewatched it, it's not as bad. Because at least this has that kind of schlocky slasher charm.
You know what it has?
To it?
You know the exact thing that this film has that Rob Zombie's Halloween doesn't have? Whimsy.
Little bit of whimsy in your horror film.
My Bloody Valentine 2009 is fucking packed to the rafters with whimsy, and that's why I liked it.
It is not. What do you mean whimsy?
It's whimsical.
It's not whimsy. What are you on about?
I don't know. I just thought it was fun. It felt like the people that were making it were having a good time. Like, Rob Zombie is clearly trying so hard to make a serious film.
You know what? Yeah. No, I think you're spot on there. Like, My Bloody Valentine, they came out to make a slasher film.
Yeah.
They used some new 3D technology. They gave us some kooky, fun kills.
Yeah.
They completely fumbled whatever plot this film was supposed to have.
Yeah.
But they got the guy from Supernatural in, and they made a film.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween, Rob Zombie was like jerking himself off with the idea of,
I'm so great. I'm the only person on the planet who can do Halloween better. Like,
and just totally fumbled the bag. Like,
awful.
Yeah.
But I had a really good time watching My Bloody Valentine. I think I would like to go back and watch the original again, because the original is...
Well, the fact that you said you watched it not long ago and you enjoyed it makes me think it's worth...
The original is genuinely very good. Like, I watched it... I think it was like the afternoon. I had the day off, and I was just like, I feel like watching a movie. I was browsing through, I think it was Amazon Prime, which shows that this was probably a little while ago, because I've not used Amazon in ages. I was flicking through, looking through horror movies, because like I'm in the mood for like a sort of... just a slasher, just something that's going to be like a bit fun.
In the mood for a
little bit of whimsy, you know? And I was like, I'll just stick on a slasher movie. And it came up. And I remember just being like really impressed by it. Like I wasn't expecting it to be particularly good.
Yeah.
And I remember being like very surprised that it was very, like it has a lot of like heart and it has a lot of originality for a film that's just bundled in with a bunch of other like holiday slashers and early 80s, like slasher movies were a dime a dozen. The fact that this stands out as being original and interesting and well made shows that it's good.
I mean something.
So yeah, I'd be interested to go back and watch that again, maybe in 6 months when it's Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know what other Valentine's Day films we could do.
Probably not many.
But I'm sure we could find some on the theme of love.
Yeah, you could do love as a theme rather than Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, it had absolutely DOS all to do with poetry. But,
yeah,
as far as slasher goes, it was not good, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But I have seen worse. So, points for that, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the best of the like remakes of that time that I've seen. Admittedly, I've not seen that many.
Definitely better than Friday the 13th, which is absolute garbage. It's definitely better than Halloween, which is garbage.
It's better than The Fog.
Definitely better than The Fog. Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yeah.
Not awful.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it as being not awful.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna eat my words again. No, I am gonna eat my words again, I'm sure.
Yeah.
If I make those kind of statements. But I remember watching it and was like, it's fine. It's not the original, but it's fine.
I remember when I watched it, I at least was thinking that at least they'd had some original ideas. But a lot of the film, I remember being frustrated because it's like they were clearly just trying to redo stuff from the original film, but using CGI.
Yeah.
They were getting really into like the CGI for the dream sequences and the CGI for Freddy coming out the wall and the CGI for like everything. And it just looked bad. Like the CGI wasn't good enough to stand up against the practical effects. So the whole time I was like, why bother? Like, why are you doing this? They had the whole like micro sleep thing. It's like when your brain gets deprived of sleep, you start you start sleeping like 2 seconds at a time, like while you're standing up.
Yeah.
And it causes this like blur between like, you don't know what's real and what's a dream anymore, which is something that hadn't been done before in Nightmare on Elm Street and works really well within that franchise. But like, I remember thinking the rest of the film was just crap.
Maybe you should watch it.
Maybe I should. Maybe I should.
Yeah.
Yeah. But My Bloody Valentine has now dethroned A Nightmare on Elm Street as the best remake of that era.
Okay.
Of that little remake bundle that we got.
Okay. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Cool. So next week we will be having a bit of a remembrance special.
Mm-hmm.
The brilliant William Friedkin has sadly passed away this week.
Yeah.
This recording week, it will be a couple of weeks before this episode
by the time
comes out.
Next
episode comes out. Yeah,
but still, we can't help that.
But we're doing what we can to honor his memory, and as such, we'll be doing an Exorcist special. And I think we spoke. Do 1 and 3.
Yeah.
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 Unless you particularly want to do 2.
Oh no! I was gonna. I thought it would be really funny if we did the usual thing where like you say your pick and then I say my pick. If you had said you were going to do The Exorcist, I was going to say I wanted to watch Shark Exorcist because I thought that would be really funny. But no, I want to watch The Exorcist 3.
I didn't. You need to tell me these things.
Sorry, I should have said it up. It would have been funny.
Yeah.
No, I want to do Exorcist 3.
You want to do Exorcist 3?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I've never seen the third one. I've only ever seen the original.
Yeah,
and it's been a while, and I'm keen to go back and watch it because it's incredible.
Mm-hmm. It is. I was doing some reading on the Exorcist franchise today because I was thinking that The Exorcist 3 was directed by William Peter Blatty, who wrote wrote the original and wrote the book that the original is based on and everything. So I was thinking that like it doesn't have anything to do at all with William Friedkin.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking like maybe we shouldn't do that because it's kind of, we're doing this because of William Friedkin. Maybe we should pick something else. But then I was doing some reading on it, and actually it was kind of worked on by William Friedkin. So they did the second film, they did The Exorcist 2. Then William Friedkin and William Peter Blatty were like, we want to do our own sequel that's actually more following on like the themes, not so much the plot, but the themes of the original. And they started writing a film that was going to be called Legion.
I was going to say, I thought it's not a separate book called Legion.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they started working on it as the film, or they started working on a film and then William Friedkin dropped out.
Right.
Then Blatty wrote it as a book.
Okay.
And then that book was adapted into Exorcist 3.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
I might be slightly misunderstanding that, but that was what I got from a quick read of the Wikipedia. So So he is tangentially, he like did inspire a lot of the plots.
I mean,
like,
besides anything else, he did the original.
He probably came up with like the groundwork.
Arguably the best horror film of all time.
It's up there.
So
it's up there.
Anything even closely related to The Exorcist, I think, honors his memory.
I'm excited to watch it again.
And I'm sure even if it's terrible and we make fun of it, he would appreciate that.
Yeah.
He definitely seemed like the kind of guy.
He was the kind of guy who told it like he saw it 100%
Yep.
of the time. There was an interview with him that was going around on Twitter the other day, just because everyone was talking about him after he passed. And it was someone interviewing him that was asking about, is it Cruising? It's the film that he did with Al Pacino and Tommy Lee Jones.
Maybe, yeah.
And he was basically like, he was kind of asking like, yeah, because, there's been some criticism about like, the acting and the whatever. And, Al Pacino thinks that. And then freaking interrupts him and goes, I don't give a fuck what Al Pacino thinks. Now, Tommy Lee Jones, that's a man who I care about his opinion because he's a good actor. Al Pacino could go fuck himself. I thought that was so funny. And everyone's just like, no one, like William Friedkin clearly like really loved film. Mm-hmm. And he did not care what anyone else thought.
Nope.
And you've like, maybe he was not a very pleasant person. There are a lot of stories about like The Exorcist, like he probably was not, he was not a pleasant person to work with, I'm sure. But he was like the original auteur. He was like, yeah. He cared a lot about films. He probably didn't care about his cast very much, but he cared about films. You got to give him credit for that.
Didn't care much for other people.
He absolutely did not.
Yeah. Well, either way, we're honouring his memory next week.
Yeah, we are.
And that's that. We had poetry. We'll have The Exorcist next week.
Mm-hmm.
William Friedkin special.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
Nothing more. Goodbye.
Bye.
I won't stop recording.
What?
Whoa.